Hey everybody, Shane Rice here with Danielle, and I'm just sharing with her an update on a call we had with SALT, our SEO agency, and so I'll just jump right into it. So on the call today, Danielle, one of the things we looked at was not last week, but the week before, Google made an algorithm update, core algorithm update, and so anytime that happens, there's always a chance that your domain can see big impact, either positive or negative, and so you just kind of have to monitor and see. And so it's not something you can really look at in a day or two and see what's happening. You have to have a little bit more space. So the good thing we're seeing is that impressions are way up for us. So that's somebody searching for a term in our domain coming up in Google. Those have increased a really nice amount since this core algorithm update. So what that tells us is that we're rising in the rankings. But because we're not seeing a similar lift in clicks yet, that tells us that we're not hitting the rankings high enough where we're going to start to see, that 1 to 3 position where you really start getting the bulk of clicks. So that's exciting because, it's the first time we've had this change happen, and we can see a demonstrative positive impact on About. So I think that speaks to the work that the team is doing here internally, as well as the support we're getting from SALT. And the other side of it too is we had the core algorithm update come through, and there was no flip-flop. So we didn't go from about.gitlab back to gitlab.com when you search for our brand. So that's positive as well, and shows that the work we put in around September, October to fix that is holding and having the intended impact. So really excited to see that right now.
Shane, are you able to show any kind of visual of the impressions? I don't know how to see that in Google Analytics.
Yeah, hold on just 1 second. SALT made a presentation, and I will share my screen so you can see what they have there. Just a sec. And so what they did is they pulled this data from Google Search Console from the API. And so, oh no, this is a different SALT. Hold on, let me find the right SALT slide deck from this morning. That was for the domain migration. So let's see here. Where did I put it? Here we go. All right, great. All right, so this is impressions. So this looks back to October 1, and then you see the red dot. That's when the algorithm update happens. And then the following week, you see our impressions really spiking. And so you can see on this chart here, you can see kind of the trend line. And then here's what we see for clicks. So no loss in clicks, that is good. And then year over year, this is the impact really of making sure that the About subdomain is served for the result for GitLab. Last year at this time, we were not that first result. And so you can see the difference that makes just to getting people to About subdomain. So yeah, good things there. Clicks, I think are still something we're focused on, but this just shows the momentum of the changes we're making. So that was one update.
Second update, just so that I can make sure to connect this back to our OKR. So we've got this OKR about growing traffic 20% year over year.
Yes.
Obviously, we want to do that by producing awesome content, but the truth is momentum around our domain and our authority kind of in our space, that's going to be our big ticket, right? So yes. When you think about this, my question is, okay, I love that impressions are going up. What can we do, or what do we have control over that makes the click-through rate go up? So if someone else is watching this video, I bet they'd be wondering, well, how do we capture more of that? Do you have any thoughts on just like what we can be excited for as we make an impact there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, we want to focus on factors that draw people into the page, right? So we want to have meaningful titles, meaningful meta descriptions, and then over time, as we have that in the lower area results and people are finding the answers to their queries, lower in the results, then we'll start to see our rankings go up, impressions continue to go up, and then clicks as the trailing indicator will continue to grow there as well. The other side of the thing to keep in mind too when we look at clicks right now is that we're in a time of year where clicks are traditionally down for SaaS products. If we are in e-commerce, we would expect to see clicks going up right now. But since we're in the SaaS space and a lot of our customers or potential customers are going into the holiday season, don't have a lot of plans for changing tools or adopting any new practices, there's just not as much click traffic from that. So I think once we get into January and February and we start comparing year over year, we can see how much those impressions are actually driving more interest in adopting GitLab.
Sounds great. All right, so you said that was just update number 1. So what else have you got for me?
Okay, so update number 2 is, I know we talked about some of the challenges with our redirects being managed through Fastly through the YAML file and some of the API issues we've had around that. And so I asked Fastly to kind of consider put together a proposal for the work to integrate their Sloth tool for SEO tooling and integrate that with Fastly, because right now it only uses Cloudflare. And so Dan reported back today that they're in a position where looking at their tool and then talking to Fastly, there's some changes, but it's not a whole scale rewrite. So it's only going to take a couple of days worth of time and can fit into our existing agreement. So we're not going to have to get a separate agreement for some massive amount of work. Yeah, right. So at some point early in 2021, 2021, we're going to sit down with Salt, my team, infrastructure team, and Fastly, and we're going to just talk about what we need and what it takes to get us there. And then the other great thing about that is that may remove a blocker to move us from Fastly to Cloudflare, because if part of the blocking is, we've got all these redirects running through Fastly and it's paying for us to have the time to get ready to migrate from Fastly to Cloudflare, then that may unlock the ability for us to do that some. So I don't know if that holds any benefit for us, but it's just something that I thought about when when Dan was telling us about this. So that's update number 2. Update number 3.
Whoa.
This is something that's super concerning for me. So I'm going to share again what we're seeing here. So when I was looking at GitLab.com, and let me just let's see here. Hold on. Let me just get everything lined up so I can share this. I think great. All right, so I was looking at the GitLab's product domain, like the root domain and the traffic there. And when I was looking at this, I was like, man, what happened on the 24th of October? Why do we have 240,000 clicks? And then so you dive into this and you can see, okay, so it's these issues which are now all dead, and the queries that were driving this were all, hold on, I know it's hard to see. Let me zoom in a little bit. The queries that were driving this were all UFC fight queries.
Oh yeah. Huh.
So people were looking for a live stream and they were hitting a GitLab issue, and so that is not really surprising, and we know that there's an issue with spam. But the thing about this is that when I saw this, the thing I asked Dan was, based on your experience with a number of different brands, what is the risk to GitLab with this, right? Because we've invested so much in SEO and in content, and it's a big driver for our business. If for some reason Google decides to penalize us because of something like this, let's say it's not this UFC thing, but what if we have another event that's even bigger and Google notices and we get some kind of penalty or notice when users visit us? And he's like, it can absolutely happen. He's seen it happen to other domains, and he's it just depends on how severe it is. But if it's if you get that red alert when you try to visit our domain that you're visiting a domain that hosts spam and could be malicious, like he said, it takes 5 years plus to recover from that. So I think this is just a really key example of why we need to create dynamic sitemaps and make sure that we are disincentivizing people from using our platform for spam by making sure that the value they get from trying to spam us is as low as possible. So talking to Dan, he's working on the dynamic sitemap issue with the product team. And so looking at ways we can do that. So thinking about like, so can we create a mix of signals that tell us like, okay, this account is legit and we want to get them indexed and discovered in Google as soon as possible, their profiles, their issues, their groups. And this is somebody that is likely to be a spammer, and we're just going to watch them and make sure that everything lines up with them. I can tell you have a question. I keep going. So
well, before you keep going, just for someone who's watching who doesn't know what a dynamic sitemap is, I think I'll try to rephrase what you're saying in like non-SEO nerd terms, and then you tell me if it's right, just because I love that people watch these videos. So if you think about social networks like Facebook or Twitter would have all these profiles, like some profiles are better quality than others, right? I've got a profile that's 10 years old full of, real tweets by a human. And then there's also, of course, like bots and spammers, all sorts of stuff. A dynamic sitemap, my understanding is it allows us to set some rules around kind of what we consider to be quality, and then make sure we're feeding that to Google so that Google is getting kind of our idealized view of like what a good profile is, what a good issue is, what a good epic is. And those things get indexed and ranked first. And by giving them that guidance, they can actually, based on those sitemaps, they can actually programmatically make additional decisions because we're kind of training them. Is that fair to say, Shane?
Yes. So, that hits it on exactly what we're looking for, is a way to identify those meaningful accounts and then give Google a list of those. So your sitemap is just an XML list of pages that you want crawled, and then also helps us conserve our crawl budget to make sure that when Google tries to consume our site with their crawler, that they're going to the places that are the highest value for Google, highest value for our users, and the highest value for us.
Awesome. Is there anything else you want to put in this update, or what else do you want to put in here?
That's all the early Christmas presents I have.
We got impressions, we got redirects, and we covered the dynamic sitemap and the crazy UFC spike, which I chuckle at, but I don't want that to happen.
We don't want that. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to stop the recording here. Anyone who's watching, thanks for watching all the SEO updates. I hope you've learned a bit about what we do in search marketing this year.